Imagine waking up one morning, walking into your kitchen, looking at the person you've been married to for like 20 years, and deciding that they are basically an expired carton of milk.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that is incredibly harsh.
Right. You just decide to toss them out because you want to feel young again, so you completely discard your life partner just to upgrade to a newer model. It sounds totally brutal, doesn't it?
It really does. But it actually reveals this terrifying truth about the human ego.
Exactly. And welcome to the Simplified Summary YouTube channel. Before we get into today's deep dive, I want to humbly and warmly ask you to hit that subscribe button, like this video, and share your valuable comments down below.
Yeah, it really helps the channel grow.
It does, and trust me, you are going to want to comment on the psychology we are unpacking today.
Because it is quite the psychological labyrinth. I mean, the lengths to which the human mind will go to protect its own illusions are just, they're truly astounding.
Oh, absolutely.
We see this all the time in modern behavior, but the blueprint for it was actually written decades ago.
So our mission today is to dissect a sharply observant short story. It's called Naya Viva, which translates to The New Marriage.
Right.
It's this absolute masterpiece by the legendary writer Munshi Premchand from the collection Mansarovar Part 2.
Such a classic.
Yeah. We are going to step directly inside the mind of a middle-aged merchant who takes a younger second wife, and we're going to use his story as evidence to solve a central psychological mystery.
Which is, why do we destroy our own stability to chase an illusion?
Yes. To solve that mystery, we really have to perform a sort of psychological autopsy on self-delusion.
Premchand sets up the variables perfectly for this. We meet LaLa, who is this wealthy merchant, and he is 43 years old.
Okay, 43.
And his first wife, LaLa, is 40. Together, they have had 7 sons.
Wow, 7 kids.
Yeah, 7.
Yeah.
And LaLa possesses this deeply ingrained merchant mindset, meaning he evaluates absolutely everything in his life, including human beings, through a purely commercial transactional lens.
Okay, let's unpack this merchant mindset for a second, because the text gives us this incredibly harsh detail to illustrate it.
It's brutal.
It really is. LaLa literally views LaLa like an aging cow that can no longer give milk or bear children.
Right.
In his mind, her utility is just gone. Therefore, her only place now is the Goshala.
The cowshed.
Exactly, the cowshed of isolation and rest. He decides she is just meant to eat and lie around, completely out of sight.
He has entirely stripped away her humanity there. He's reduced her to a line item on a ledger.
Yeah, totally.
When her physical utility is depleted in his eyes, she is essentially just written off the books.
It's like an economic sunk cost fallacy in reverse. Instead of holding on to his investment in his first marriage, he views the past 20 years as a liability.
Right, and decides to declare emotional bankruptcy.
Exactly. But I have to push back a bit here on the underlying motivation. We could easily just say, well, he is terrified of aging. But is it really just terror of mortality driving this? Or is it simply a byproduct of a patriarchal society where men are culturally permitted to treat women as disposable commodities?
That's a great question.
I mean, could his actions be less about internal fear and more about, external entitlement?
That is the crucial intersection we really need to examine here. The patriarchal society is what gives him the permission and the means to discard her without facing social ruin.
Right. Society isn't stopping him.
Exactly. It's the enabler.
Yeah.
But the emotional driver, the sheer disgust he feels toward her, is rooted in his terror of mortality.
Okay, how so?
Well, Premchand shows us this when LaLa attempts to use a little makeup to hide her wrinkles, and LaLa reacts with intense anger.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, if this were purely about entitlement, he might just ignore her, But her wrinkles offend him on a visceral level because she is the physical evidence of the timeline they both share.
Ah. Okay, so punishing her is his way of punishing time itself.
Precisely.
By declaring her old and pushing her into the shadows, he is creating a psychological distance. He is essentially saying to himself, she is the one aging, not me.
He is trying to negotiate with biology using his financial power.
That is wild.
He genuinely believes that because he has the capital to dictate the terms of his household, he can also dictate the reality of his own cellular aging.
Wow.
So when she puts on makeup, it angers him because it highlights the very performance he's trying to pull off. It threatens to ruin his own illusion.
Which means his entire reality is incredibly fragile. I mean, he cannot maintain this delusion in a vacuum.
No, he can't.
Because he views his first wife as a depleted asset, the natural next step for a merchant is to acquire a brand new asset to reflect the reality he wants to live in.
Enter his young second wife, Asha.
Yes. And the moment she arrives, we see a complete, almost comical overhaul in LaLa's behavior.
The transformation is staggering. This is a man whose entire identity, his status in the community, was built on his business acumen.
Right, he's a merchant.
But the text details how he suddenly loses all interest in his beloved shop. He skips work for weeks, totally indifferent to his financial losses.
What is actually happening in his brain when a middle-aged man tries to, purchase his way out of aging? Because he doesn't just stay home, right?
Oh, no.
He surrounds himself with an avalanche of new status symbols. He buys a new motor car, gets new furniture, hires extra servants.
Brings in a radio.
Yeah, a radio.
Yeah.
And he buys daily gifts for Asha.
To understand the mechanics of this, we really have to look at the historical context of the 1930s in India.
Okay, set the scene for us.
A motor car and a radio were not just expensive gadgets back then. They were the absolute bleeding edge of modernity.
Right, like the newest tech.
Exactly. By bringing these specific items into a traditional household, LaLa is using technology and modern consumerism as proxies for youth.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
He is no longer measuring his worth by his traditional role as a steady, wealthy patriarch. He is equating his purchasing power with vitality.
He even starts having these incredibly boastful conversations with his friends, claiming that his old youth is vastly superior to the youth of today's young men.
Yeah, he's laying it on thick.
He declares he wouldn't trade one single hour of his life for 1,000 of theirs.
That boasting is a classic symptom of a mind desperately trying to maintain equilibrium. Psychologically, LaLa is experiencing intense cognitive dissonance.
Let's define that for the listener.
So, cognitive dissonance is the mental discomfort a person feels when holding two contradictory beliefs at the exact same time.
Right.
In LaLa's case, belief A is, I am a virile, modern young man. And belief B is, I am a 43-year-old man with a 40-year-old wife and 7 children.
Those two realities cannot exist in the same brain without causing massive friction.
They really cannot. So the brain have to resolve the discomfort. Instead of accepting reality, LaLa resolves the dissonance by doubling down on the delusion.
He physically constructs a barrier.
Exactly. A barrier of new furniture, modern technology, and boastful rhetoric to block out the evidence of his age.
There is this one incredibly revealing scene from the source material that perfectly illustrates this cognitive dissonance.
The silk clothes scene.
Yes. LaLa is wearing these colorful gold-button silk clothes, dressing much younger than his age, and he catches a glimpse of himself.
Right.
Suddenly he feels completely ridiculous. The text describes it as feeling like a spell wearing off. The reality of his 43 years bleeds right through the silk.
That moment of clarity is critical. Deep down, his subconscious knows this is a costume.
Yeah.
But putting on this silk costume and buying these modern gadgets is exhausting in a vacuum.
Mm-hmm.
A performance this fragile requires an audience to applaud it.
And that places a suffocating burden on his new teenage wife.
Absolutely.
Here is where it gets really interesting. Because you can buy all the radios and motor cars in the world, but inanimate objects cannot validate your masculinity.
No, they can't talk back.
Exactly. You need someone sitting in the front row clapping. Let's look at how he forces Asha into that role behind closed doors. The text focuses on a specific linguistic shift.
Yes, the pronouns.
LaLa demands, really, that Asha drop the formal, respectful word app when addressing him and use the intimate, casual word tum.
That linguistic shift is a masterclass in power dynamics.
Break that down for us.
Well, in Hindi, app creates a clear hierarchy. It acknowledges his age, his seniority, and his status as the patriarch of the house.
Right, it's a sign of respect.
Exactly. But tum implies equality, familiarity, and youth.
Wow.
By demanding she use tum, he is basically begging her to verbally rewrite the reality of their massive age gap every single time she speaks to him.
It is forced intimacy. He is trying to script her dialogue to fit his delusion.
He really is.
But he doesn't stop at vocabulary. He takes it a step further and actually fakes a physical ache. He pretends to be in pain just to get Asha to express concern.
And rush over and touch him.
Yeah. When she realizes he is completely faking it to get her attention, she playfully scolds him. Now, here's the detail that truly highlights the absurdity of his ego.
Well, this part is fascinating.
LaLa feels immensely proud of this tiny victory. He actually values this little moment of validation more than if he had been awarded the title of Rai Bahadur.
That comparison is the absolute key to to unlocking LaLa's entire psychology.
For context, for those who might not know, Rai Bahadur was a title of honor bestowed by the British colonial government to individuals who demonstrated exceptional service or leadership.
Right.
For a merchant in colonial India, it was the ultimate stamp of societal power and prestige. It was basically the highest public honor of his era.
Yes.
So how does a man whose entire life was built on public status and wealth suddenly decide that a fake scolding from a teenager is more valuable than the ultimate societal crown?
Because the title of Rai Bahadur would only validate his public status, his wealth, his intellect, his place in the traditional hierarchy.
Right.
It would validate him as a successful older man.
Oh.
But the fake scolding from Asha validates the one thing his money cannot legitimately buy.
His youth.
Exactly, his youth.
So what does that say about the mechanics of his insecurity?
It shows that his insecurity has entirely cannibalized his previous value system. He knows society is mocking his second marriage. He can hear the whispers of his peers.
Sure.
Asha's attention is his shield against that mockery. But here's the paradox. By relying on a teenage girl's passing smile to sustain his ego, he has handed her the absolute keys to his self-worth without even realizing it.
Wow.
Validation from a subordinate feels like ultimate power to him, but it is actually ultimate vulnerability.
Which means the man who bought into this marriage to be the powerful, unquestioned master is now the most fragile person in the room.
Yes.
If she decides not to play along, his entire psychological architecture crumbles.
And this is where Premchand shifts the narrative lens, which is brilliant. We move away from LaLa's exhausting internal monologue and point the camera at the quiet corners of the house.
Specifically the kitchen.
Exactly, the kitchen, to see how the actual power dynamics are drastically shifting right under his nose.
There is a fascinating scene between Asha and the household cook, Juggul. Juggul is terrified.
He's shaking in his boots.
He fully expects to be fired any day now because LaLa is known for having an incredibly short, nasty temper.
Right.
He's venting his anxieties to the new bride. How does a young girl, fresh into this intimidating household, respond to a veteran servant's fear of her powerful husband?
She responds with total authoritative confidence. She doesn't offer to politely ask LaLa to spare Juggul's job. She doesn't tell Juggul to simply avoid him.
No.
She promises Juggul that absolutely no one is going to fire him, and then she calmly asserts that she is going to fix LaLa's temper in a matter of days.
She uses the word fix. That implies a mechanical understanding of her husband.
Totally.
She views his anger not as an immovable force of nature, but as a glitch in a machine that she now operates.
Yes, perfectly said.
This leads to a brilliant philosophical debate between Juggul and Asha that really cuts to the core of societal expectations. Juggul represents traditional society's view. He implies that an older woman, like a mother figure, or a wife closer to the husband's age, would be much better at keeping a man on the right path, keeping him disciplined and morally grounded.
Juggul is operating on the assumption that authority comes from age and moral standing.
But Asha fiercely counters that logic. She says a young wife will love him more, serve him better, and crucially, control him more effectively.
Control him.
Yes. So let's look at the mechanics of this control. How does a teenage girl realize she holds this kind of leverage over a wealthy, middle-aged patriarch?
It's incredible.
Why does a young wife control a man better in this specific scenario?
Because she recognizes what LaLa refuses to admit. She holds the monopoly on the one resource he desperately needs to survive his cognitive dissonance.
Which is?
She controls the illusion of his youth.
Wow.
Asha is incredibly pragmatic. In the historical and cultural context of the story, she is supposed to be a passive victim of this arrangement.
Right, a commodity traded for her youth.
Exactly. But she refuses that role. She understands the currency she holds in this transaction.
She knows exactly what game is being played, and she knows LaLa's hand.
There is a brilliant visual cue the author gives us to demonstrate her awareness.
I love this part.
The moment Asha hears the horn of LaLa's car approaching the house, she instinctively pulls her veil over her head and scurries to his room.
It's almost like an actor hearing their cue to go on stage.
It is precisely that. It shows she knows exactly how to play the role of the demure, submissive, traditional bride.
Right.
She gives him the exact performance he paid for when he got the motor car and the radio.
Yeah.
But the veil is just a theatrical prop for her, too. Beneath it, she is clear-eyed, calculating, and secretly holding the reins of the household. LaLa thinks he is the director of this play, but Asha has quietly taken over the script.
So, what does this all mean for you listening to this deep dive today? You might be thinking, well, this is a century-old story about a May-December romance in colonial India. What does it have to do with my life?
It's a fair question.
But Naya Viva isn't really about the specific mechanics of an arranged marriage in the 1930s. It is a timeless, razor-sharp critique of human self-delusion and the exhausting nature of the ego.
It forces us to examine the lengths we go to avoid facing our own vulnerabilities. We may not discard a spouse of 20 years and buy a silk suit, but the psychological mechanisms remain identical in modern life.
Think about how we try to buy our way out of the fundamental reality that time is passing.
Oh, absolutely.
We all occasionally use external things, whether it's upgrading to a new gadget we don't need, buying a flashy car, or meticulously curating our social media profiles.
Just to mask our deep-seated insecurities about aging or our fear of becoming irrelevant.
Exactly. We try to purchase proxies for youth and vitality.
And just like LaLa, the more we lean on those external props to resolve our cognitive dissonance, the more power we hand over to them.
We become hostages to the very things we thought would set us free.
Yeah. By requiring external validation to maintain our self-worth, we place our emotional stability entirely in the hands of the audience.
Which brings us right back to that brutal image we started with, tossing out a loyal 20-year partnership to feel fresh yourself.
Right.
LaLa threw away his real, lived history with LaLa, and he abandoned his actual identity as a successful merchant, all for an illusion of control.
He traded substance for a performance.
He really did. But I want to leave you with a final lingering question to ponder long after this deep dive ends.
Let's hear it.
If LaLa's illusion of youth and dominance is already requiring this much exhausting daily effort to maintain,
Right.
what is going to happen to his incredibly fragile ego on the inevitable day when Asha decides she no longer wants to play the game?
Oh, man.
What happens when she drops the veil, looks him in the eye, and realizes she doesn't just manage the household, but holds absolute unchecked power over his entire sense of self-worth?
The crash landing back to reality is going to be devastating.
It really is. If you found value in today's deep dive into the human ego, please hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and leave a comment with your thoughts on LaLa's delusions. Have you ever caught yourself buying a prop to hide an insecurity? Let us know down below. Thank you for joining us here on the Simplified Summary channel, and keep learning.